That is sickeningly quick. With great power comes great responsibility. If you know what movie that's from, let me know in the comments below. And that's a quote that definitely applies to today, because today I'm driving the Volvo full electric EX30, and Volvo have gone out and done something a bit crazy with this one, because they've got enough horsepower in this car to put supercars to shame. But besides the performance, this car actually has one particular thing which is better than all the other electric vehicles in the industry. But we'll get to that a bit later. As always, I'm Luke. Welcome to the driving video of the EX30, and welcome to another episode of The Future is Electric. Now, of course, as I already discussed in my tech focused review, which if you haven't seen, it's being linked down below, this car is available in 3 different variants: a smaller battery, and then 2 versions on the larger battery. One is what they call their extended range, and one is what they call their performance, their dual motor version, which of course is the one they've given me today. So if you don't want the crazy speed, and to be honest, we don't really need it in the Malta city streets, that's for sure, then you can go for the more sensible option here as well. But today I'm driving the performance version. So what is the driving feel and my first impressions on the vehicle? So this is a very comfortable ride. So firstly, the size of the car is in the compact SUV segment. It's the smallest Volvo SUV ever made, which also happens to be the fastest, but we'll talk about that a bit later. Driving position is high, but not as high as you'd expect actually for a Volvo. So not that I'm complaining about that, I do like it a lot. The steering wheel is just butter, so it's very, very comfortable to drive. Of course, full electric, so very silent in here. And they have done a very good job as well of suppressing the noises from the outside. All right, so let me tell you a bit about the regen options in this car. So regen, of course, is the vehicle's ability to recharge the battery as you are driving. And different manufacturers here have taken different approaches and giving consumers different choices. So on the EX30, we basically have 2 regeneration options, so to speak. They're the 2 extremes. So it's basically either completely off, where the car will coast the second you lift off the accelerator as any internal combustion car would, or then we go to the other end of the spectrum, where we have what we call one pedal driving. Now with one pedal driving, you basically engage it, and what the car does, it literally means you can use one pedal, right? So the accelerator pedal is all you need to use in that case. So basically, as I lift off my foot from the accelerator, we'll start to feel the car decelerating. First using the electric motor, and at that point, remember, it's charging the battery. And then at the end of the braking sequence, it will come to a complete halt by engaging the physical brakes as usual to stop the vehicle. And it's very nice that this feature is here. I think in a city-like driving feel where we're stuck in constant stop and go traffic, I think this is a very comfortable feature. You wouldn't want to use it when you're on the open road like I am at the moment, because it just will tire your foot, and it's better to coast in that case. But in stop and go traffic, it's very, very comfortable. What I don't like so much is the transition they have at the end, basically, which basically, if I just stop here, the final thud is a bit aggressive when the car is stopping. So they haven't smoothened it out as much as, say, the Nissan Leaf, which pioneered this feature and brought it to market. There's a little bit of a jolt at the end of the braking series. Now, of course, this is software, so they can fix this if they see that other people are annoyed by it. This car does have over-the-air software updates, so the car that leaves the factory will be very different to the car in 2-3 years time, because they're constantly going to be improving it through regular software updates. So that's also another thing to consider. So this is, of course, a Volvo, so safety runs in the DNA. In fact, in 1957, it was a Volvo engineer who came up with the idea for the seat belts, which have now become standard in all vehicles. And part of the reason they've become standard is because Volvo had actually released the patents open to everyone else to essentially copy. And it is this commitment that Volvo have shown in the past and keep showing going forward towards safety. They have 40 years of safety research, which they've released, again, open source for other manufacturers to essentially look into and copy if need be, because essentially nobody should be seriously injured or die in a Volvo car, or any car for that matter. But in 2007, Volvo actually made that commitment that they are committed to making sure nobody gets seriously injured or killed in a Volvo car. And they've updated this commitment recently. In fact, they've now shifted their focus, that they believe no collisions should happen in a Volvo car. Now, of course, we're not there yet, but they are going in that direction. So most of the safety research in the past has been about crumple zones and about airbags and about being protected when a collision happens. But what if we can prevent the collision? And that's what Volvo are working hard at here, through a number of safety systems all working together. So of course, there is a suite of sensors and cameras around the car, and you do have to drive these cars to really appreciate the level of detail when it comes to safety that the manufacturers are going into, and Volvo here in particular. So the front-facing radar, sonar and camera are all working together to make sure that if a vehicle or a pedestrian or a vulnerable road user crosses my path in front of us here, the car will emergency brake. And actually, in my drive today, I did get the warning. So you do get a warning before the car automatically emergency brakes. And basically the scenario was, I didn't get it on camera, narrow road, as is the case here in Malta, right? A driver in the opposite lane went into my lane because the car was stopped on the side of the road on his lane, and basically the car recognized the danger and alerted me right away. And if the situation got worse, the car would have completely emergency braked. So it's great to see the car sensing these difficult scenarios. I haven't gotten used to the indicator here, so stop. There we go. So it's great to see these safety features. Of course, it's also auto brakes when you are reversing, so if somebody crosses your path at the back, it will automatically brake. And something that's becoming standard in cars as of 2024 is the cameras hidden away behind the steering wheel looking at the driver, and they're checking my attention span. So if I spend too much time looking away from the front, essentially, which implies I'm distracted, the car will warn me to this, and it will actually start to decrease the speed if you are completely ignoring it. So another great safety feature is actually two cameras which are doing that. They can also detect when you're tired, and I did yawn at one point. Let's see if it does it again. All right, we're not gonna fool it. So I did yawn at one point during the drive, and it did tell me, if you're tired, have a break. So Big Brother is watching. Now, of course, all this tracking or whatever is kept within the car, so they're not sending this to the cloud, you know, or something crazy like that. It's all done within the car. So it's safe in that aspect as well. Your privacy is secure. But it's another, I think, great feature which is going to help prevent so many road accidents and, even worse, so many road deaths. The seat belt is claimed to have saved up to 1 million lives since it became the standard, and I think this next level of safety features is going to save even more. So I'm just going to park here and I'm going to talk to you a bit about this interior design. Very minimalist. So basically they've taken what I like to call at this point the Tesla approach. So it's one screen in the middle, no instrument cluster in front of you, no heads-up display. Everything is essentially done from the screen, short of a few buttons like the hazard lights is a physical button up here, although it is available in the screen as well. SOS button, we've got our indicators from back here as well, and our gear selector also behind the steering wheel. But everything else, climate controls, even adjusting the mirrors, right, is done from the screen over here. So I know some people are going to like that and some people are not going to like that. This is the only option available with this one screen. Personally, I like it because it does mean, and it does allude to the fact that I believe the software, which in my opinion is very well designed, it's very Tesla-like actually. It means the software is going to get updated over time, something you don't really see with traditional cars. So when the next great feature becomes available, and the way cars are designed nowadays, you can expect a new feature to come up in a few years because there's so much sensors around that they're going to find different use cases for these things. When that becomes available, something like this gives me the hope that they will add it on. So I do like this a lot. The top of the screen is dedicated to showing you your speed, your battery level, your estimated range, what gear you're in. So although you have to shift your eyes off the road, so to speak, to see them, those are very well designed and placed at the top of the screen. So that's a very good consideration there. As well as you're driving, using the suite of cameras and sensors around the car, you will see the cars, motorcycles, and even pedestrians around you. So it will show them up on the screen over here, and that's basically allowing you, it reassures you that the safety features are working, I think. It's showing you what the car is able to detect, including the road lines on the road. So those are very clearly visible as well. So that's also a very nice feature. And of course, this is the first step towards this full autonomous driving, which I believe we are heading towards faster than most people believe. So I think it's going to happen very soon, actually, at this point, with the rate of change for AI and the investments going into this technology. I think autonomous driving is probably within this decade at this point. What else do we have on the screen? So there's a number of menus here. It is a Google-based system. So actually, now that I'm stopped, I'm going to attempt to use YouTube, which is an app available in the car. There we go. And I've heard of this great YouTube channel called The Future is Electric. There we go. The Future is Electric. And I think this is a good time to subscribe. So I've subscribed. I'm not sure on whose account I did it, but I've subscribed to The Future is Electric, which you should do too. So basically, you can use the YouTube app when you're stopped. It doesn't work while you're driving. You can also launch a camera app, which is showing us a 360 view of the car, which is nice to see here. Maps, so it's Google Maps, which is great to see. Actually, some other manufacturers keep trying to figure out their own maps, and I think they always fall short. I haven't been in another OEM where you say, the maps are good. Let's leave the maps to the people who know how to make maps, and that's generally Google, I think. And they do have Google Maps in this car. Another thing about the screen, it is very, very responsive. So a very high quality screen. Brightness is dialed in very well as well. So everything is done from that screen. We have a wireless phone charger down here, which you can just place your phone. There's space for another phone, but it's just one, which is the charger. And down here you can open some storage space, very low, and there's also 2 USB-C ports. The cup holder is very nicely designed. You basically press and they come out, and then you can retract them back if you don't need to. You can even just leave one there. Okay, your windows, as I said, are controlled from the middle, and you just have 2 sets. So if you want to control the rear windows, you press a button called rear, and then you can open the window as so. There we go, closing back up. Lock, unlock doors is also available here. There is some storage down here. The glove box is interesting. So they've put the glove box in the middle. Again, for production's sake, this makes so much sense. Whether it's left or right hand drive, the glove box is always going to be the same. You do, though, have to open it from the screen. It's not huge, but I wouldn't call it small either. But I think it's a perfect place to put the glove box actually in the middle, because when they're on that side, it still becomes a very awkward reach from the driving position, right? So I do like it a lot. About opening it from the button, I guess that will take some time to get used to. Seats are very comfortable. This is the recycled denim. It's one of the 4 options available. And another, of course, showstopper, this top of the line version that they've given me has a very nice sound bar across the front of the vehicle. It's a Harman Kardon, so of course it sounds pretty great. But I do like where they've put it. I think it fits the design of the car so naturally, and I think we'll see other manufacturers copying that design, because I do think it fits better than it does in your living room, right? The sound bar here. So very nicely positioned in that way. Overall, I like it a lot. I think the quality of the materials, not the best, but again, let's remember the price point this car is coming in at, because this is one of the cheapest, I believe, Volvo's ever made as well in terms of the price point. So the materials are, I wouldn't say premium, but hopefully they're durable. They do feel quite durable, so that's a good thing for this car to last. All right, so let me tell you a bit about the driving mode, and it's gonna be my first time trying this out. So basically there are just 2 driving modes to choose from. We don't have the usual sport, normal and eco here. It's basically just a normal mode and then a performance mode, which you do have to engage from the menu here in the center screen. And basically this is dual motor, with a motor in the front and a motor at the back. And when it's in normal mode, the front motor is only engaged once the car feels you need it, so once you press on the accelerator. In fact, there is a noticeable pause before you feel that acceleration coming in when you're in normal mode. When you are in performance mode, as I've shifted to now, basically the front and rear motor are both engaged all the time. So it's essentially ready to go the second you put your foot down on the accelerator. So I'm gonna put it into performance mode here and just see the kind of pickup we get with this car. So performance all-wheel drive, prioritize performance over range. Oh yeah. One last thing I'd like to say here is that, as I said in my tech review, they've opted for 2 permanent magnet synchronous motors on front and end, which is different to what we saw in, say, the Volvo C40, which has a different type of electric motor in the front, although it's also all-wheel drive. So they are really going down for performance for this. So two of the strongest types of electric motors on the front and on the rear. So if you're going for the top of the range version, essentially they're putting the best package, you could say, in this car. So let me just get around this bend. I don't intend to speed here, I just intend to feel the accelerative forces, which again should be faster than most supercars actually, which just puts them a bit to shame, I feel. All right, so let's see the kind of pickup I get here. So I stopped it at the speed limit just to be sure. That is sickeningly quick. Oh my God. Volvo, what have you done? Why have you done it? I like it nonetheless. Wow. It takes you a while to recover from it, I tell you. So performance in the EX30. Bring your Ferraris, as they're no match for this family SUV. Now it's hard to explain how fast this car accelerates, but I am able to demonstrate it a bit. So I'm going to just take the camera off here. So my phone was right here in the wireless charging pad, and it's vanished, and basically it's ended up way back here when I essentially tried out the 500 Newton meters of torque and the acceleration. Keep your phones in your pockets if you're going to be getting the performance version of this car. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the real-world driving range or the efficiency of this vehicle. Now, the first thing I have to point out is that this figure is going to be different based on your driving style, your driving conditions, your ambient temperature where you are from. Okay, so today here in Malta, I've had an air temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, which is bang on the ideal temperature to run an electric vehicle, because lithium-ion performs best at that temperature. In fact, whenever we are far away from this temperature, so a lot higher or a lot lower, the car is actually going to use electricity from the battery, thus reduce the range, to heat or cool the battery to this temperature. So the fact that today was 25 degrees Celsius probably means that the car did not have to do this. So we're getting the most amount of range possible. Now, I am in the larger battery variant here with the dual motor, and if I look back to the stats, so this is a 64 kilowatt hour usable battery pack. So if I take that number and I divide it by the efficiency rating I'm seeing here after 40 kilometers of driving. So I drive cars, if you look at my driving videos here in Malta, for around 40 kilometers, and then I check the data on all of them. It's not a bulletproof system, but it does allow us to compare the cars, how they fare here in a city-like driving feel, which is our little island. So 64 kilowatt hours. I'm going to divide that by the 15.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which I'm seeing on the trip meter, which I reset, of course, before I started the trip. We multiply that up by 100 and we get a range of 418 kilometers, which, if I just go and check the data here on the twin motor performance, we should be seeing 460 kilometers. So we are a bit shy from that, but I have to clarify that I also drove the car with the air conditioning turned on 22 degrees. So that is impacting the range for sure. I didn't have it in performance for the sake of the test, so it was in the normal mode. So we're slightly shy of the WLTP figure, but I think compared possibly to what other reviewers are getting in other countries, especially the colder climates, I don't believe they will be seeing those numbers. So I'm pretty happy with this. We need to get we need to get down to the efficiency of around 13 per 100. I have to highlight my average speed today was a bit higher than usual, so that's also higher than what you'd typically get in Malta. So I'd say with heavier traffic, as is usually the case, you get a lower average speed and thus you get better range. So there is also that factor at play. So 418 kilometers real world driving range here in Malta after my test. This car basically does something, and one particular statistic beyond the performance, which is actually better than all the other EVs in the industry, at least based on publicly available data. So this has the lowest carbon footprint of any electric vehicle. Basically, from the second the raw materials are mined, and Volvo have done extensive research to look at this, and you can find it online. After 200,000 kilometers till when this vehicle, say, is scrapped, during that period of time, including all the mining, all the manufacture, the actual usage using the EU electricity mix, basically this car over 200,000 kilometers comes in at around 30 tons of CO2. How does that compare? Well, if it is nearly half what a petrol XC40 would essentially achieve, which is at around 56 tons of CO2. So this is a huge reduction, and they're able to do this because they've put a huge emphasis on recycling and sustainability. So 25%, let me just bring up the numbers to make sure I don't make any mix-ups here. 25% of the aluminium in this car is fully recycled. 17% of all the steel in the car is recycled, and 17% of all the plastics in the car are recycled. So given all this, plus given the focus on sustainability, so even if you look at the design of the car, so for example, the switches to open the windows here are not on the side as they usually are in the door, but they're sent in the center here. So that saves them the wiring through the door. So they're doing these little things here and there, and they all have sustainability in mind. So this is probably the most sustainable electric car you can buy at the moment. Again, at least from the publicly available information that the manufacturers are sharing. One point I'd like to also make, as I say in my tech review, this car comes on two batteries, an LFP and an NCM. The LFP battery is actually even more sustainable. The smaller variant of this car is even more sustainable than the NCM battery, the nickel, cobalt, manganese battery. So that's also something to keep in mind here. The EX30 is here, and I've had a lot of fun with it, and I'm sure you will too. If you have one of these cars somewhere in the world, make sure you leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts of the vehicle, how it's going for you. If you want to support the channel a bit better, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and the official merch is available from the store below. But as always, I hope I've convinced you with the Volvo EX30 that the future is electric.